This happened when I was in my early 20s, during a weird transitional time in my life. I'd just graduated from college and was trying to find my footing. Like many people fresh out of school, I wasn't quite ready to go back home, but I also couldn't afford to live on my own. That's how I ended up in a shared house on the outskirts of the city with 3 other guys who had also gone to the same college. We weren't close friends, but we'd seen each other around campus, and when we realized we were all looking for housing, it made sense to rent a place together. We split the rent 4 ways and managed to get a small but decent house in a more rural area. For the first 9 months, things were good. We didn't hang out constantly, but the house had a decent atmosphere. Everyone respected each other's space, but pretty abruptly, 2 of the guys decided to move out. One got a job in another city, and the other moved in with his girlfriend. That left just me and KJ. Unfortunately, KJ was the one I talked to the least. He was quiet, kept to himself, and was always working strange hours. I wasn't thrilled about being left alone with him, but I figured it was temporary. We agreed that we'd finish out the lease, which had 3 months left, and then go our separate ways. At first, I didn't think much of KJ's absence. On my days off, I often found myself alone in the house, which felt eerily quiet without the others. KJ was almost never around. He only worked part-time, but he'd be gone from early morning until late at night. I assumed he was hanging out with friends, maybe dating someone, but the more it went on, the more I realized how strange it was. Then came the night that changed everything. I was up late, probably around 1 a.m., just browsing my phone when I noticed headlights shining through my window. A car pulled up the gravel driveway. I figured it was KJ. I decided to get up and say hi, try to break the awkward silence that had been growing between us. As I opened my bedroom door, I heard quick, heavy footsteps rushing down the hallway. It startled me. When I poked my head out, KJ was standing frozen just outside his door. His eyes were wide, his chest rising and falling like he'd been running. The hallway light was off, so I couldn't see him clearly, but something about his posture and the way he was staring at me made me uneasy. "Hey KJ," I said, trying to sound casual, "just seeing how you're doing." He didn't respond right away. Then he muttered, "I'm good," and disappeared into his room. I stood there for a second, unsure of what just happened, then went back to my room. That moment stuck with me. Why was he acting like he'd been caught doing something? Curiosity got the better of me. A few minutes later, I crept back into the hallway. I wasn't planning on doing anything crazy, I just wanted to listen. As I passed his room, I heard frantic shuffling, drawers opening and slamming shut, papers rustling, something metallic clanging. Then it went completely silent. I froze. Every instinct in me screamed to get away, but before I could move, his door suddenly opened. KJ stood there, staring at me with the same wide eyes. I fumbled for an excuse, just heading to the kitchen. "You want anything?" He muttered no, and shut the door again. That night, I didn't sleep much. Something was seriously wrong with him. Over the next several days, I started staying up later and later, listening for him to come home. Every time, it was the same. He'd rush inside, eyes darting, hands shaking. He barely said a word, and always locked himself in his room immediately. His appearance started changing too. Dark circles under his eyes, twitchy movements, almost like he was on something. Then, one night, there was a knock at my door. I hadn't heard him walk down the hallway, which freaked me out even more. When I opened the door, he was standing there, partially smiling, eyes more restless than ever. "Hey," he said. "I think I dropped my wallet in the driveway. Do you have a flashlight? Can you help me look?" It was so out of character for him to ask for help that it caught me off guard. I agreed, thinking maybe this was a chance to smooth things over. I grabbed my flashlight, and we stepped outside. He made small talk, asked about work, mentioned the weather. but I noticed his car was parked far down the driveway, way farther than normal. We walked all the way to the end, shining the light on the gravel. No wallet. Then he started veering off the path, leading us toward the woods. That's when my alarm bells started blaring. Why would it be out here? I asked. He paused, like he was making something up. I took a walk earlier. Maybe I dropped it then. But he kept pushing further into the woods. I stopped. Here, take the flashlight, I said, offering it to him. I've got work early. I'm gonna head back. He didn't take it. He just stared at me, the fake smile gone. His eyes looked angry. I didn't wait. I turned and walked fast back toward the house. I looked back once. He was still standing there, watching. When I got inside, I locked every door and started packing. I didn't sleep. He never came back that night. By morning, I had everything important in my car. I left and never looked back. To this day, I don't know what he was planning. But whatever it was, I don't think I was meant to come back from that walk. For about 2 years after college, I lived with a guy named Jason. We weren't exactly best friends, but we'd been roommates on campus and got along well enough. When we both decided to stick around the city for work after graduation, it just made sense to move into a house together. It was a decent place, not too big, not too small, and close enough to everything we needed. We split the rent evenly and mostly kept to our routines. The first year went pretty smoothly. We got to know each other better, cooked meals together occasionally, and even shared a few drinks on weekends. When our lease was up, we both agreed to renew it without hesitation. Things were good, that was, until a strange series of events started to unfold that would completely change everything. It began one random night in early June. I got off work late, around 11 p.m., and walked into a quiet house. Jason was home, lounging on the couch watching TV. We chatted for a bit, nothing special, then called it a night. I went to bed around midnight. Sometime around 3 a.m., I woke up. It wasn't a dream or a nightmare that startled me. Awake, it was the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps creaking across the hallway floor. I rolled over, checked the time, and assumed it was Jason, getting up to grab some water. I didn't think much of it and went back to sleep. The next morning, I was in a bit of a rush. I had an early shift and was grabbing my things when Jason opened his bedroom door. He looked a little tired, and as I walked past him, he asked, "Hey, were you walking around the house last night?" I stopped in my tracks. "No, I thought that was you." He raised an eyebrow. I thought I heard footsteps going through the hallway at like 3 a.m. We exchanged confused glances, but didn't dig deeper. I shrugged it off, figuring maybe it was the house settling or the wind. It was old, after all. That night, Jason had to work late, so I had the house to myself. I spent the evening in my room, binging a show and eating leftovers. Around midnight, I turned off the lights and got ready for bed. But again, around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of footsteps. This time, I stayed still and listened more carefully. The sound was faint but unmistakable, slow creaking across the wooden floor, moving from one end of the hallway to the other. It didn't sound like pacing, more like someone carefully walking. I sat up, heart pounding, and quietly opened my door. The hallway was dark. I tiptoed to the living room, but found nothing. Jason wasn't home yet, and nothing appeared out of place. Still, something didn't feel right. The next day, Jason was off work, and I told him everything. He didn't laugh it off. He looked genuinely creeped out. "Man, I swear I wasn't imagining it either," he said. "That first night, it sounded like someone was walking right past my door." We checked the house for signs of entry, but found nothing. All the windows were locked. A few days passed. Then, one evening, I came home just after 10:30. The house was dimly lit. As I walked past Jason's room on my way to mine, I caught sight of him sitting on his bed in the corner, head down, almost like he was deep in thought. "Hey, what's up?" I called out. No response. Weird. I figured maybe he didn't hear me. I changed into some comfortable clothes and headed to the kitchen to grab a snack. On my way back, I noticed Jason's bedroom light was now off. Curious, I peeked in through the doorway. He was still sitting on the bed in complete darkness. "Jason," I asked again, "you good?" Silence. Something about the way he just sat there, completely still, unnerved me. I stepped away quickly and went back to my room. I didn't know what to make of it. An hour later, I was scrolling through my phone when I heard the same slow creaking of floorboards. I looked toward my door, and for a second, I saw a shadow pass underneath. Instead of getting up, I sent Jason a text. "Are you walking around again?" A moment later, I got a reply. "What? I'm not home. I'm still at work." My stomach dropped. I bolted to the door and yanked it open. The hallway was empty. But now, Jason's bedroom door was wide open again. I approached it cautiously, peeking inside. That's when I saw him. A man, definitely not Jason, was standing in the middle of the room. He was tall, had a thick beard, and just stood there in the dark, staring in my direction. I ran, out the front door, down the driveway, across the street. I didn't stop until I was safe on the other side, phone in hand, calling the police. They arrived within 15 minutes. The man was gone. They searched the house thoroughly. No sign of forced entry, no broken locks, just a single window in the back that was slightly ajar. They suspected he'd been entering and exiting from there. What chilled me most was realizing this guy had probably been in the house for days, maybe even longer. The creaking floorboards, the strange shadows, they were him. Not some old house groaning at night. Him, watching us. Maybe waiting. Jason later told me that the only reason he wasn't home that night was because he'd gone to see a friend after his shift. Had he come straight home like usual? I don't even want to think about what might have happened. After that, we both broke the lease. We couldn't sleep in that house anymore. We never found out who the man was. The police never caught him. But sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night and hear a creak in the hallway, I remember that man's silhouette and wonder if he ever left at all. Back in 2015, when I was 23, I was living on my own in a modest one-bedroom apartment. It was a decent setup, not too fancy, but safe and affordable for someone just getting their career started. After a while, though, bills started piling up, and I realized I needed to find a roommate to help cover rent. At the time, Craigslist was still commonly used for roommate searches, and I created a listing with some photos of the apartment and a quick description about myself: young professional, clean, responsible, non-smoker, etc. I specifically asked for someone close to my age, hoping to find a roommate I could get along with. After a couple of days, I got a reply from someone named Hannah. She said she was 23, like me, and still finishing up college nearby. We had a phone call where she seemed pretty normal, polite, and surprisingly similar to me in terms of lifestyle. We arranged a time for her to come check the place out. When she arrived, I noticed something off right away. She was definitely tall, maybe taller than me, and had this look that made her seem a little older than 23. But I figured maybe she just had one of those mature faces. She was friendly, liked the apartment, and didn't hesitate when I offered her the room. A week later, she moved in. At first, everything was fine. We both had busy schedules, so we didn't see each other a lot. She'd be out early for school or work, and I usually came back late. We exchanged polite hellos, sometimes had small talk in the kitchen, but mostly kept to ourselves. It was exactly what I wanted. Then on the 5th night, things got weird. I got home from work around 10 p.m. As I entered the apartment, I immediately heard footsteps rush down the hallway, followed by a door slamming shut. That hallway led to our bedrooms, hers and mine. Confused, I looked down the hall and noticed that my door was wide open. I always shut and locked it before leaving. I walked in, heart starting to race. Nothing appeared to be missing. Nothing was moved or out of place. I checked my drawers, my desk, everything. It all looked fine. Maybe I forgot to close the door. Maybe the wind blew it open. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I tried to brush it off. I settled in, watched TV in my room, and just tried to relax. About an hour later, I casually glanced at my bedroom door. That's when I saw it, a shadow under the crack. Someone was standing right outside my room, not moving, just there. My stomach dropped. I stayed still for a moment, unsure of what to do. Then I called out, "Hannah." No answer. I called her name again. The shadow shifted slightly, then slowly moved away from the door. I heard her door slam shut down the hallway. I locked my door immediately and stayed up for a while trying to calm my nerves. In the morning, I casually brought it up to her in the kitchen. "Hey, did you need something last night?" She smiled. "No, everything's good." That was it. No explanation. Later that night, I got home late again. The apartment was quiet and dark. No lights, not even in her room. I figured she went to bed early. I quietly changed clothes, FaceTimed a friend, then got in the shower. While I was in there, I thought I heard something, a faint creak. Maybe the floor or door hinges. I turned off the water for a second, listened. Nothing. Finished up, dried off, and stepped back into my room. And the door to the hallway was open. I could have sworn I'd closed it. I looked into the hallway, completely dark, not a sound. I closed and locked the door. Again, I couldn't sleep. I kept playing it over in my head. Was she snooping around again? Was she sleepwalking or something? Or was it something worse? Around 2:30 a.m., I finally dozed off. Then I woke up. Pitch black room. Apartment silent. But the door was slightly ajar. I know I locked it. My heart started pounding in my chest. I looked toward the door, and through the crack, I could see the faintest bit of light from the hallway. Then I saw her dot in the corner of my room. Near the wardrobe, Hannah was standing completely still, not speaking, not moving, just facing me. I couldn't breathe. I sat up slowly. "Hannah." Nothing. She took one step forward. Her face came into clearer view, blank expression, dead stare, almost like she was looking straight through me. Then, without warning, she sprinted out of the room and down the hall. I heard her door slam shut. I grabbed my phone and keys, threw on some clothes, and ran straight out of the apartment. I didn't stop running until I got to my car. I called the police. By the time they arrived, she was gone. Her room was half empty. She'd taken most of her stuff, everything. She gave me her full name, phone number. Even her college info turned out to be fake. The phone was a prepaid burner. Her identity was untraceable. To this day, I have no idea who she really was or what she was planning, but I'm convinced I was being watched, and had I stayed in that room a minute longer, I might not be here to tell this story.